Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. I hope your day and your week have been going very well so far. This is Clash of the Titans, a video series here at Guy Boston Sports where I go through each and every single ranked matchup throughout the entire college football season, giving you guys deeper insight, deeper analysis, but more importantly, more picks for each of these big time pivotal college football showdown. In today's video, we have an a major SEC battle on our hands here with number 11 Oklahoma going on the road to take on number 4 ranked Alabama in a game with massive implications for the college football playoff, the SEC championship, and so much more. And as always, guys, I've got some really great picks to go ahead and share with you. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new week of college football comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. I have 3 plays to share with you guys in today's video. We have a spread pick, we have a team total pick, and we also have a player prop to close out the video. Make sure to comment down below who you think is going to win this big time battle between Oklahoma and Alabama, your predictions for the game, plays you like, everything, drop it down below in the comment section down below. Again, I'll say down below like 5 times in the last like 30 seconds, but go ahead and comment down below. All right, guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this game. 3:30 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. Again, we're in Tuscaloosa for this SEC showdown. My first pick in today's video is going to be Oklahoma on the spread plus 7.5. Now, it should be noted, and if you guys have watched my videos for a while now, this shouldn't come as any surprise to you. I have adjusted the spread a little bit. Now, the actual spread itself has gone down to 5.5 points in the favor of Alabama. I am taking 7.5 here, so I'm adding a couple points to the Oklahoma spread to make it a more favorable line for myself here. Now, the problem is you get a little extra juice. Now, I'm going to put a little extra on this bet. The best odds available to me are minus 150 over on BetMGM. I'm going to put 1.5 units on this play to make it worth my time. Now, some people might say that's too much to put on a game. I really love Oklahoma at this spot at plus 7.5. I think they can keep the game close. 5.5, you're getting a little dicier, and we'll break down the game in just a second. But just explaining my reasoning for why I'm adding this, you could go ahead and bring it back down, but I think the safer play would be giving yourself that touchdown cushion, right? Oklahoma can lose the game by a touchdown. We still have a cash in our hands here. You take them at 6.5 or 5.5, a 7-point win for Alabama means a loss for you guys. Again, it's about giving yourself the best chance to go ahead and hit a bet. Yes, you're sacrificing some value, but you're also increasing the odds of you actually hitting said bet. But of course, I'm just here to give you advice and suggestions. You guys are obviously in control of yourselves. Do whatever you'd like. I'm just here to give you guys my picks and analysis. Again, this is a really tight battle. You're in Tuscaloosa. A couple big advantages for Oklahoma. First and foremost, they are coming off the bye week here. The last time we saw them a couple weeks ago, they had a huge win on the road at Tennessee. A season-saving win, if you will, because they obviously followed that up. The previous game was that loss to Ole Miss. So a huge win over Tennessee. They now had an extra week, some extra time to rest, some extra week to go ahead and prep. Obviously, John Mateer got hurt in the Texas game. He didn't seem completely himself the last couple weeks. He has an extra week to kind of get right. The Oklahoma team has more time to prepare for this big-time showdown with Alabama. Oklahoma, a 56% cover rate over the last 10 games. We narrowed down just this season, a 63% cover rate against the spread. Now, Alabama also a very good cover team, 67% cover rate against the spread this year. So both teams over 60% covering the spread in general. Looking at just these particular lines, Oklahoma at plus 7.5, a 78% hit rate on the season. Only 2 times this year have they failed to cover plus 7.5. The Ole Miss game and the Texas game, they're 2 losses. But every other game, they've either won or covered this number. And again, there's some big games in there. Tennessee, Auburn, Michigan. Like, there are some good teams in that mix. Now, some would say, obviously, Ole Miss and Texas, they are comparable to Bama. That's the game they probably needed to prove themselves in. I'll take that criticism. It's fair. On the Bama side of things, they've covered minus 7.5 in 56% of their games. They've had a really great year. Obviously, they've bounced back in a massive way from the Florida State loss early in the year. However, even in their wins, you see a lot of these big-time games winning close. Georgia, they beat by 3. Missouri, they beat by 3. They beat South Carolina by 7, although South Carolina obviously not in the same level as those other teams I mentioned. And they have been able to beat some better teams. Tennessee, they beat by 17. Vanderbilt, they beat by 60. So this is a really good Bama team. They're at home in Tuscaloosa. Why am I'm rambling here at this point. Why am I on Oklahoma here? And really, it's their defense. Their defense is just such a juggernaut, and they are battle-tested. They play in a lot of big-time games. I think their defense can make a big difference in this spot here. Like, it's a very strong Alabama offense for sure, but they can go ahead and cause some pressure for Ty Simpson and this Bama offense. Top 10 scoring defense in the nation, top 3 in sacks, QB hits, first for tackles for loss. Alabama's offensive line isn't terrible. It's okay, 65th in the nation in terms of sacks per game. But Oklahoma should be able to put a lot of pressure on Ty Simpson, more pressure than he's seen maybe at all this year. They have a very good run defense, and although their pass defense isn't as good as their run defense, they still have a top 25 pass defense in the nation in terms of yards per game. Now, obviously, that's the area where Alabama excels, right, is their passing offense. But you just go down the list here, top 5 in yards per play. All the numbers support Oklahoma here. The one thing that is not great is their red zone efficiency numbers. Obviously, Alabama very efficient in the red zone. Let me go ahead and clarify. I'm not picking Oklahoma to win this game. I think Alabama wins this game, but I do think that Oklahoma's defense, mixed with the fact that you do have an Oklahoma offense that, although on the surface doesn't look great, they do have some key advantages, specifically John Mateer, the quarterback, who obviously is a dual-threat quarterback. He could have some success against an Alabama run defense that's not that great. That's been their Achilles heel all year, has been their run defense. They also don't have that potent of a pass rush, although Oklahoma's offensive line has left something to be desired this season. I'm not picking out Oklahoma to upset here. I'm just saying I think this game will be a lot closer than people think. I think this game could be something like a 3-point game, a 27-24, a 26-20, something along those lines where it's like, I think Oklahoma's going to lose this game, which will obviously put an end to their college football playoff hopes. But I do believe they can keep this game respectable with that defense. I don't think Alabama's going to have a field day scoring on this Sooners defense. The key for Oklahoma is how good is their offense going to play. And I do think, again, that weakness in the Alabama run defense gives them an opening, a window of opportunity to hang in this game with a dual threat quarterback like John Mateer. He could give Alabama, their defense, some fits in this spot. Again, I'm not getting anything twisted here. Alabama is definitely the better team. I think they're going to win this game on their path to the college football playoff and a spot in the SEC championship game. But I do think Oklahoma, they are a feisty team. Yes, they've beaten badly a couple times this year. Look at the Ole Miss game. Look at the Texas game. Their offense has failed them at times this year. But this is still a very strong Oklahoma defense that has advantages against Alabama in a way that some of the other teams Alabama's faced this year haven't. I don't think that Tennessee's defense is anywhere near Oklahoma's. I don't think them, and Missouri and Vanderbilt have both solid defenses, but I think Oklahoma's is better. Missouri lost by 3. That to me is a very comparable game there. Oklahoma, I think, is better than Missouri. I think Oklahoma can hang around here. Again, one more time. I'm repeating myself. I apologize for that. I'm not saying Oklahoma's going to upset or do anything crazy in this game, but 7.5 points is a lot to cover. And although Bama has still covered it the majority of the time this season, Oklahoma has also covered it more than Alabama has. 78% cover rate, plus 7.5. I think they can hang around here. I think they can shock some people. That bye week, that extra rest advantage, they've had more time for Brent Venables to go ahead and game plan for Alabama. I think that's going to be massive. That rest advantage, that extra week of preparation is huge for this game. For 2 weeks, all Oklahoma's had to worry about is Alabama. Bama obviously had to take care of LSU first, which did give them a pretty decent fight, to be fair. And then now they have to go ahead and immediately follow that up by playing Oklahoma. Not exactly an easy route for the Crimson Tide. Sooners have had all their focus on this game. I think that's a massive thing here. So I think Oklahoma plus 7.5. You're paying a little extra juice on it, but I think it's definitely worth the spot. And for my second pick in today's video, and don't worry, I will not ramble as long on this one here, is the Alabama team total under 27.5. Look, even if I'm wrong here, right? Even if Alabama wins this game by more than 7 and Oklahoma comes up short, the one thing I am pretty confident in is this one. Now, Alabama's only cashed this under in 44% of their games this year, 4 of 9. You see they've had some really big scoring games. They're averaging 32.78 points per game this season. But you have also seen in some of these big-time matchups, you've seen Alabama on the lower side of scoring. 17 in week 1 versus Florida State, 24 versus Georgia, 27 versus Missouri, even last week versus LSU, 20. Some of these better defenses they've played have been able to keep this offense at bay. Again, one of the reasons why I like Oklahoma plus 7.5 here is I think that as long as you keep them under this number of 27.5 points, Oklahoma should be able to score 20. 27-20 gets us a cash on the spread and a cash on the team total over. And 27-20, a very realistic outcome in this game. I'm not going to go ahead and repeat all the numbers, but Oklahoma's defense has some clear advantages in this game. You look at head-to-head numbers, the last time these two teams played, Alabama, Oklahoma. Alabama only had 3 points. Now, that's last year, very different team, very different makeup, but Oklahoma beat Alabama 24-3 in Oklahoma. They have shown they can get to this offense. Now, again, that's Jalen Milroe. Very different. Alabama's a much better team this year than they were last year. That being said, though, Brent Venables has some advantages here against Kalen DeBoer. He has a route to go ahead and attack this Bama offense. Again, I'm not saying Bama's going to have 3 points like they did last year, but this is just, they can't score 4 touchdowns. Keep them under 28, keep them exactly at 27 points or less, and we're good to go. And I think that's a pretty reasonable bet. I mean, even when they do cash the over, we'll look at the last 5 games. Again, they're right around the mark. 29 versus South Carolina, 30 versus Vanderbilt. And the Vanderbilt game, they scored late in that game to get to that 30-point total. So I think the under of 27.5 against this Oklahoma defense is very, very reasonable. Look down below here, some other teams. Tennessee, they held them to 27. Ole Miss went with 34. Ole Miss, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we'll have to go back to this number here to look at the data. I believe Ole Miss is the only team this season to score more than 27 points against Oklahoma. Tennessee at 27, Ole Miss, there you go, 34. South Carolina 7, Texas at 23. Yeah, the only team that scored more than 27 points was Ole Miss. That's it. Every other team has been held to 27 or fewer points when playing Oklahoma. So pretty good numbers there. Across the board, looks like a pretty good spot to take that under. Minus 145 for a reason. A little juice there, but again, I'm willing to put a little extra to go ahead and make it worth our while. And real quick, guys, before we finish off with our third and final play, our player prop in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about the sponsor of today's video, Epic. Guys, Epic Fantasy is a new DFS fantasy app that is going to absolutely dominate the game. If you like player props, this is a great place to play. They offer better lines and better payouts than the competition out there. And that is just within their pick'em mode, in which you pick more or less based on the player stats. The real unique thing about Epic is the fact they can actually go into the fade 'em section and you can fade other players' entries. That is right, guys. If they even get one part of their entry wrong, you walk home with the bag. Go try Epic today. Use code GUYBOSTON down below, and they'll match your first deposit up to $50. It's a really fun community thing. You can go ahead and tail people and fade people. But the key thing, and there's another offer, beyond the fact they'll match your first deposit up to $50, when using our promo code GUYBOSTON, they're offering another special deal here called Copy Cash. Very simple. Again, you put in, let's say, a little parlay here, right? Or you put your lineup in, right? You put your lineup, and every time another user copies said lineup, you get 25 cents. So you can get paid here and get money just for putting out what you like. The example, as it shows here in the graphic, JJ McCarthy over 19.5 rushing yards, Bryce Young over 188.5 passing yards, Jacoby Myers over 18.5 longest reception. You put that slip out there and someone likes it. They say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and copy that for myself and tail it. You get 25 cents just for someone copying your play. And obviously, you know, you have a good play out there that people like, you might get paid for it. So really good offer. Use code GUYBOSTON down below. Check out Epic Fantasy. Shout out to Epic for sponsoring today's video. All right, guys, our third and final play in today's video here, we have our player prop. We have John Mateer of Oklahoma over 26.5 rushing yards. I'm grabbing this one for minus 114 over on FanDuel, so pretty good value here on this player prop. Now, admittedly, it's been a little hit or miss on this one. 50% hit rate on the season, 4 of 8 games. He's cashed the over, averaging 38.5 rushing yards per game this season. Now, he had a very strong start here, 76 yards versus Michigan, 63 versus Temple. Then he gets hurt in the Texas game, and you do see the rushing numbers kind of went down a few weeks there. But then their last game out versus Tennessee, he had 80 rushing yards in that game. We go down below, he's averaging almost 12 carries per game again in that little stretch there with Texas, with South Carolina, Mississippi, Ole Miss. Again, also some pretty tough matchups there, but pretty good usage rate, very high number of carries. You look down below here at the rushing share here. He's obviously second, actually tied for first with Torrey Blaylock, the #1 running back here for carries. So he runs the ball a lot. Obviously, that dual threat quarterback. We know Alabama, 54th in the nation in rushing yards, allowed giving up only almost 140 rushing yards per game this season. So they're weak against the run, specifically running quarterbacks they have struggled with at times this year. So it is a pretty good matchup with John Mateer. And as you can see, the insight provided by Outlier. He had that little rough stretch there, that 3-week stretch there in October where he struggled. But you go back to last year, granted this is with Washington State along with Oklahoma, so 2 different circumstances. But you do see 15 of his last 19 games dating back to last year with Washington State. He's cashed the over at a 79% hit rate, averaging 56.79 rushing yards per game over the last 19 games. Now, granted, again, you look at last year, Washington State, he had a lot of games there with like 18 carries, 20 carries, 18 carries, 21 carries. He hasn't gotten anywhere close. The closest he had 19 carries to Oklahoma against Michigan, but still running a decent amount, 16 carries versus Tennessee last time out. He has that in his back pocket, knowing the matchup here. 27 yards really isn't that crazy for him to go ahead and get. The most recent example would be Lenore Sellers for South Carolina. He had 67 rushing yards against Alabama. Bo Prabula, the Missouri quarterback, he also had 61 rushing yards against Alabama. Joey Aguilar had a bit of a rough day there, but you have seen a couple of the running quarterbacks. Lenore Sellers is a very good comp there, have really big days on the ground against this Bama defense. So John Mateer, who was in that class of being one of the better running quarterbacks in college football, 27 yards. Shouldn't be that hard for him to get. So guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much as always for watching. One more time, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. Until next time, guys, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your week. Let's go ahead and make some money, baby. Let's go.